Hey, you all. So today we're actually going to be doing the first in a new series, channel, playlist, whatever we call it. And this one is going to be talking more about political things. And so, I mean, everyone's welcome to stick around, whoever, usually watches these. I don't think that, I know some of you were like in elementary school, and maybe people treat you sometimes like, those kinds of things aren't for you. That's not what I think. When I was really young, I mean, that's what I like to watch. Some of my favorite things to watch when I was in elementary school and even before I was in elementary school were like C-SPAN, different kinds of shows about nature and history and politics and economics on PBS. I like to do a lot of reading, just all kinds of different things. I actually had to get a permission slip from the library because I was so young and I wanted to check out all these books that weren't in like the kids section, and the librarian didn't think that I was old enough to be responsible. She didn't think that I would, care about them or remember them or, and that I would lose the books. But my parents signed the permission slip and I could take home all kinds of different books about different things. So anyways, the point is that I know that some of you might be interested in these kinds of things. So no matter what age you are, I'll try to keep these topics so that everyone can be here. And I'll put in the description the kinds of things so that, if there's some things that people maybe aren't interested in or they are interested in, or, just so that you can all stay informed about what's going to be in here before you come in here. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself so that you can know like what these videos will probably maybe be like. So I'm someone who I'll tell you about kind of the things that I believe in now, and I'll tell you kind of about how I got to be here, like the things that I used to believe in, things like that. And then you can ask me some questions and things in the comments if you want, or next time I'll just kind of come up with my own thing to talk about. So right now, I'm a little bit older than 30, so I'm in my not 40, not 30, somewhere in there. If I had to put like words on the things that I believe in, like my values and how I would like to see the world work, because people use different words to describe. Like I'm sure you've heard the words maybe Democrat or Republican or conservative or liberal or progressive or right or left, or not right like correct, but right like on the right side of something versus the left side of something. These are words that often in our world, especially in the United States, those are words that we tend to use to describe ideas about politics, political things, different policies, but like, what do those even mean? And so myself, I'm actually called something called an anarchist. And sometimes you might hear that word used in like almost like a scary way in like movies or something. Like if something bad's about to happen, they'll say that'll be anarchy. And a lot of times people, they use the word in a way that actually the word doesn't mean that. Like they misunderstand what the word means. So when people say it in movies like that, like that'll be anarchy, they mean like that'll be bad, or that will be, that'll be destructive maybe, that'll be chaotic, like the comet will hit the earth, that'll be anarchy. Like, that something like that. It'll be disastrous. It'll be bad in like a big way. But what anarchy actually means, in like a political way, is where you're a person who doesn't believe that there should be what are called hierarchies. And a hierarchy means where one person, or where like one thing is above another thing. So like if people are in charge of one another, that's called a hierarchy. So like if there's a person who's like a king, and then there's like the servants or the workers or someone else that the king is in charge of, that's called a hierarchy. And I'm someone who doesn't think that there should be hierarchies in the world. But if you think about it, right now, there are hierarchies in the world. There's lots of times when there's people who are in charge of us, who get some say in the choices that we make. And I mean, for you, that might be your parents. And I think that, for like little kids and stuff who can't take care of themselves, there definitely should be, people who make their choices for them, who teach them, who show them. And I think that's something different. But we're going to talk about adults, or we're going to talk about beyond just when you're young and you need people to help you understand the world. And so, like, let's say your parents, maybe, or your grandparents, or your teachers, or, some adults maybe that you're familiar with. So they probably, maybe they go to work, and at work, they might have a boss who tells them what to do. If they don't go to work, maybe they, are sick sometimes. And sometimes when you're sick, you go to the doctor, and doctors can do a lot of good. I don't want to make it seem like I don't think doctors do good things, but the way that things work sometimes is that in certain situations, doctors can have power over you. They can make decisions for you, or even not just the doctors, but sometimes when you're sick, you have to talk to what are called insurance companies. And insurance companies are companies that they get to decide if doctors can give us medicine and stuff. And if they look at how much money we have. So if we don't have enough money, an insurance company can say, oh, even though you're not healthy and you need a doctor, you can't see a doctor. And they're on top making our choices for us. And those can be for all kinds of reasons. So in that instance, it was because of money. They're on top. They have the power because of money. But in other reasons, like for when we talked about a king earlier, those people are usually kings or queens because their parents were, and their parents were, and their parents were. So it's something that's been in a family for a long time, or it's a tradition. Sometimes that's the reason people are on top of other people. So whatever the reason, though, the thing that I believe in is that no people should be telling other people how to make their own choices. We should all just get to a point eventually. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen like tomorrow, where we just help each other out, and we're just good people to each other, and we don't need other people to make us be good to other people. So we wouldn't need police. We wouldn't need like a president or anything like that. We would just like be neighbors to each other. We would help each other out if something happened, and other people would help us out if we needed. And no one would tell each other what to do. We would just choose to do the things that needed to be done. And that doesn't mean that sometimes it's not hard to choose the thing that we need to do. Like sometimes I'm sure you want to choose to like tell your parents that your homework's done and it's not because your favorite show is on. But like, I'm sure a lot of the time you guys don't do that. You do your homework because you know it needs to get done. And then sometimes maybe you still get to watch your favorite show, or sometimes maybe you don't. But you guys are old enough to know that we all make our own choices, really. Even if we know that someone's in charge of us and could make consequences happen if we don't do the things we're supposed to do, like maybe we get grounded from TV, if we told our parents a lie. But probably we know well enough how to sneak around if we really wanted to. But do we want to? Do we want to do that? Do we want to be like that to our parents? Or, do we want to be like that to our teachers? Or when it really comes down to it, do we want to be like that to ourselves? Like, who is school helping? School's helping us. We're the ones learning from it. We're the ones getting stuff out of it. And that's the same way with like the world we live in. Who's really getting something from a nice place to live, from a really wonderful community garden, from having, just like from taking care of things. Yeah, our neighbors get stuff out of it, but we get something out of it too, because we live here too, and also, you might have heard of something called climate change. And that's a big part of that's in it a lot too, because it's kind of the same thing. Like, this is the earth we all share, and yes, it's good to take care of the earth for the plants and the animals and the other people, but also like it's good to take care of it for us too. Like, we're important too. And it's good to take care of the earth for ourselves, and it's good to take care of the earth for other people, and it's good to take care of the earth for the animals. So it's good for so many reasons actually to just choose to do the good thing, even though sometimes we know it's hard and it's difficult. At the end of the day, for me, I think it just feels better to choose to do the good thing instead of having someone like standing over you trying to make you do the good thing. It's like you already want to do it, but then it feels worse when someone's like trying to make you do something you want to do. Then you just don't want to do it. You're like, oh, gosh. At least for me, that's how I feel. And so that's why I believe in something called anarchy. There's been some different times during history when people have tried to live with anarchy. Some of them did really well. Some of them didn't do so well. A lot of times, we don't learn about that in school, actually, because so right now we live in kind of the opposite of anarchy, which is what's called a state. And not a state like, so if you live in the United States, like a state like Washington, or a state like Texas, or a state like, so not like that kind of state. A state just means like a country. It means a place that has a government. And a government means that there's people in charge. Like, there's a president, there's a prime minister, there's, something like that. There's Congress, there's somebody who makes the rules that everybody has to follow. But because there's somebody who makes the rules, like there's some of the people and they make the rules go out to everyone. That's called a hierarchy. And that doesn't mean that in anarchy there wouldn't be rules. It just means that everybody would decide the rules. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a little bit different. So it's one, that everybody would decide the rules, and two, there would be nobody making you follow them. If you chose not to follow them, there would be other things that would happen instead of what happens where we live, like where we have presidents and stuff. Because if we don't follow the rules, depending on the rules, things that could happen would be like you get grounded, you go to the principal's office. If it's bad enough, like you go to jail, you get the police called, and in an anarchy society, that's not what would happen. There's a lot of other ideas about things that will happen, and we can talk about that another time. But it's an idea that says we don't make people do things. We keep people safe, we take care of ourselves, and we take care of each other, but we don't make people do things. Like, we don't put them in jail, because that doesn't help anyone, actually. And again, we can talk about that a little bit more later. Trying to think what else. I was going to tell you about like things I thought before. So I've kind of believed in this for a long time. I just didn't always have the words for it. Sometimes it's hard when you kind of have an idea, but you don't have like a way to describe it, and you've never talked to anyone who like has those same ideas. So probably since I was a kid, I kind of thought like a lot of these things. And then when I went to high school, I had a teacher, Eden. Uh, she's a good friend of mine still. But so she had used to be, or maybe she still is. I think she still is. She's an anarchist as well. So she was an anarchist, and she still taught us all the stuff that you learn in school. But she was also just a really like, she cared and she wanted to do things that were good, even though it was hard. And so she knew that there was a lot of kids at the school who just, they wanted to learn so much more. They wanted to get active and involved and make the community a better place, but they didn't know how. So she would stay after school every day with us, and she helped us start a club, and she taught us so many things that we didn't know, and she introduced us to people in the community who needed our help. And it was really special. But she's the one who first got me to understand like how to be like that, and gave me some of the words to describe it. And then the next year, I had some more teachers who were just really wonderful and continued to show me like, just kind of continued me on that path. And then I was lucky enough to be able to go to college, which is a hard choice to make now, I know. It can be expensive. I still have a lot of student loans that I haven't paid off. But at the time I chose to go to college, I went to school in Oregon. And I went to a very, what people might say is a liberal school. So when people say stuff like that, they usually mean like, that maybe like, you voted for Obama, or that like, you think that immigrants should be able to come into the country, or that you think like people who are queer, or like gay people, should be able to get married to each other. So that's like liberal. So the school that I went to, it was very liberal. There's actually quite a lot of other anarchists who go to school there. And I didn't know that at the time because I still didn't have a lot of the words. I had some words. But a lot of people were older than me that went to school there. I was a little bit younger when I went to school. And so I just didn't know as many people. And was still kind of, just generally figuring stuff out. I graduated high school when I was a little bit young. And so that was, you just have to, I just had to grow up a little bit. So I didn't have a lot of friends in college. But I had some friends, and I'm still friends with them now. And they also are kind of like anarchists, or what you might call like socialists, which we'll get into the difference later, but it is a lot of the same things. You think that we should all take care of each other. Then when I graduated college, I wanted to be a teacher, but I had to get all kinds of licenses and stuff that are very expensive, and I didn't have any money. So my friend Eden, that had been my high school teacher, she helped me get a job in another country. And then, so I saved up some money so that I could try and get my teaching licenses and stuff. But I ended up traveling for a little while, and it gave me some perspective. I know not everyone gets the opportunity to travel, and that I was really lucky to do that. But it really helped me to learn about a lot of people and their different situations in life, and that sometimes we kind of form an idea about a person before we really know what they're going through. And so I was really lucky. And then I did teach for a long time. I teach preschoolers, and I taught for more than 10 years. So that's how I got to kind of believe in the things that I believe in. So we'll try and talk more about this. And yeah, let me know what other things you'd like to hear about. Like what political things, what are some what are things that you guys care about? Let me know. Okay, bye.